There's a quiet revolution happening all around us, right inside the walls of our buildings. And it's not about bricks and mortar anymore. Nope. We're talking about data, sensors, and intelligence. The entire construction industry is going through what you could call a great rewiring, a massive shift from simple electrical circuits to these complex digital nervous systems. So, what's really driving this incredible change? Let's get into it. And if you're wondering just how serious this is, all you have to do is follow the money. Get this. New research from the Association for Smarter Homes and Buildings, that's ASHB, found that by 2025, organizations are going to be spending, on average, a staggering $500,000 a year on this tech. This isn't some futuristic fantasy. It's a massive investment happening right now. So, what's behind this spending spree?
Well, to really understand where we're going, you got to look at where we've been. For decades, construction ran on a model you could basically call install and go. Think about it. All the different trades, they just worked in their own separate lanes. The HVAC folks did the heating, the security team put in the cameras, and the electrical contractor handled the power. Everybody was in their own silo.
And the key to this old way of doing things, it was the finality of it. An electrical contractor, for example, would come in, lay the wires, connect everything up, and that was it. Job done. See you later. There was no need for them to stick around because all the systems were totally self-contained. Yeah, they worked, but they weren't smart, and they sure as heck weren't talking to each other. But oh boy, is that all changing. The rise of the Internet of Things, or IoT, has just flooded our buildings with data. All of a sudden, every single light fixture, every thermostat, every security camera, it's not just a device anymore. No, it's a source of information. And this data deluge is forcing a radical shift in how we build and manage our spaces. And this is where we see the real motivation behind all that investment. For years, the big buzzword, the main driver, was sustainability. But that's not the top dog anymore. That new Ashby research shows the number one reason today is way more practical. It's all about reducing operating costs. It's a huge shift from a nice-to-have green initiative to a hard-nosed business decision. Efficiency isn't just good for the planet, it's fantastic for the bottom line. And this quote from Ashby's CEO, Greg Walker, just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the pressure cooker everyone's in. Facility managers are constantly being asked to do more, but with smaller budgets. In that kind of environment, smart technology stops being a luxury and becomes an absolutely essential tool for survival. So what does this actually look like in the real world? This model from PCL Construction is a perfect example. You can see it right here. It starts with all these IoT sensors out on the job site, just collecting raw data. That data then gets fed into their job site insights platform to get crunched and analyzed. And the result? Actionable intelligence that lets them optimize everything in real time. It's a brilliant feedback loop. Collect, analyze, and act. But this raises a huge question. How do you get all these different gadgets to talk to each other in the first place? And that is the million-dollar question. Having a bunch of smart devices is one thing, but making them work together as a single cohesive unit, that's a whole other challenge. This new complexity has created a need for a brand new, absolutely critical role, the Master Systems Integrator.
The Master Systems Integrator, or MSI for short, is basically the brain of the entire smart building. Think of them as the conductor of the orchestra. They're the single point of responsibility. Their job is to make sure the HVAC system, the lighting, the security, you name it, is all speaking the same language and working together toward the same goals. And this diagram really shows you just how central that role is. In construction, big projects are broken down into standard categories called divisions. Well, the MSI's job is so important, it gets its own new category, Division 25. You can see it right there in the middle, acting as the hub that connects all the other traditional systems, the electrical, the HVAC, the security, the whole shebang. They are literally the glue that holds the entire smart building together. So the big question is, who is best positioned to become this new building brain? Well, the industry seems to have a clear candidate in mind. A recent survey found that a whopping 63% of electrical contractors think it's very feasible for them to evolve into this MSI role. And it just makes sense, right? They already manage the building's power, its low-voltage backbone. This is a natural, strategic next step for them. Recognizing this massive opportunity, the industry didn't just point out the destination. They actually drew a map. And that's what this is, the roadmap to 2030. It's a detailed blueprint for how an electrical contractor can make that leap from being a traditional installer to becoming a high-value master systems integrator.
And here it is, the roadmap itself. Now, I know it looks like a lot to take in, but it's actually simpler than it seems. It's broken down into 3 parallel tracks over on the left: technology, business, and workforce. And it's split into 2 timeframes. You've got your short-term goals and then your long-term goals on the right, taking us all the way to 2030. Let's start with the short-term stuff.
The short-term strategies are all about building a solid foundation. One of the key ideas here is to use smart lighting as a kind of gateway to deploy more IoT sensors. You can think of it like a Trojan horse. Every single room needs lights, right? So it's the perfect vehicle for getting more tech into the building. Other critical first steps include seriously beefing up cybersecurity and partnering with existing integrators to learn the ropes.
Okay, now for the long-term vision. This is where the real game-changing transformation happens. The goal here shifts from just a one-time installation to offering these sophisticated ongoing services. We're talking about things like building diagnostics, predictive maintenance, and eventually offering full master system integration services as a core business. And to pull this off, the roadmap calls for partnering with universities to create a pipeline of highly skilled talent. It's all about becoming an indispensable partner for the entire life of the building. So when you put it all together, the end game is crystal clear. This isn't just about learning a few new skills, it's a complete identity change. The roadmap is a guide for contractors to move away from that old install-and-go model and step into a future where they are the crucial, value-added partners who manage a building's entire digital nervous system for its whole life. Which leaves us with one last really fascinating question. For over a century, a building's value was in its physical structure, its steel and concrete. But as the intelligence inside those walls becomes its most valuable asset, a new competition is heating up. The race is on, not just to build smarter, but to decide who will ultimately be the master of all that intelligence.